I hate getting these kinds of reviews out this late. I really do. But I've been busy with school, I was out of town for the weekend, so here's my late review of Ender's Game. Ender's Game takes place in a future where aliens have invaded Earth, but the invasion was, to borrow a line from Pacific Rim, cancelled, and in order to prevent a future invasion from ever happening, the government decides to bring in all these young kids who are tactically brilliant in games or just strategy in general to have them become the next defenders, because apparently adults can't do jack shit. One of these youngsters is Ender Wiggins, played by Hugo's Asa Butterfield, whose two siblings are also just as brilliant, but there's something special about him that Colonel Graff sees. This movie is basically his journey to become this great leader and basically, like The Matrix, become the one. Normally when a movie comes out and it's based on a book, chances are I have not read the book. The only two exceptions are the first Harry Potter and this Ender's Game. I read the book back 10 years ago in 5th grade, and my memory of it is kind of vague. I remember liking it, and I remember what was going on in my head as I read it, but I don't remember details so much. So I'm just going to judge this as a movie, even though I saw it with two of my friends who love the book and consider it their favorite book ever. So for me, the movie was mediocre at best, but my friends despised it. They hated this movie, absolutely hated it. And I just didn't have a strong attachment to the book, and again, I don't remember many elements until they had to refresh my memory after we saw the movie. But anyway, we'll get back to that later. The director of this movie is Gavin Hood, who made the Oscar-winning foreign film Satsi, which I did not see, and then he went on to make the absolute worst superhero movie I've personally ever seen. I bitched about that movie already, you can check out my review, but one of the things that made that movie the absolute piece of shit that it is was that the studio kept stepping in and interfering with a lot of Gavin Hood's decisions, and I actually feel like the same thing happened to Ender's Game. While Ender's Game is not a piece of shit, I feel like Summit stepped in a lot, and it felt more like a studio project than Gavin Hood really doing something with this material, so I'm not going to blame him entirely. Although he did write the screenplay on his own, so I feel like they could have gotten the author, Orson Scott Card, to come in and write the screenplay, but then again, he did come out against homosexuals. He suggested Jake Lloyd be Ender, and he suggested Rosie O'Donnell be Colonel Graff, so maybe it's good they didn't get him to write anything. The movie does look cool, but as I've learned over time, visual effects just unfortunately can't save a movie, no matter how good they look. I didn't really care for what was going on. There was no tension. It wasn't epic. There was no sense of epicness in this movie, and I didn't like the ending. The ending was one of those, oh, we got a sequel coming, come back for part 2, and will this movie have a part 2? I'm actually not sure. But back to my friends who loved the book and hated the movie. They were reminding me of some elements that were rushed, half-assed, or abandoned. Like, one thing in particular was the relationship between Ender and his sister Valentine, played by Abigail Breslin. And yeah, in the movie, it's weird. You get the impression that there's some weird romantic relationship going on. Not from Valentine's side, but from Ender's side. You feel like he has romantic feelings towards his sister, and I just thought, this is too creepy to watch. It's uncomfortable. But in the book, the reason they have that closer relationship is because they have a psychotic older brother, Peter, who Valentine acts as a protector towards Ender. And the most we get out of Peter being psychotic is Harrison Ford saying his brother's insane. I hate when movies do a tell, don't show thing rather than show, don't tell. And Harrison Ford plays Colonel Graff, which I think was a good choice. instead of Rosie O'Donnell. One thing that pissed me off also was I thought the movie was over 2.5 hours long, or at 2.5 hours long, because the pacing was a mess. It felt like it took forever. Some scenes felt rushed. Some other scenes felt like they went on too long. And then when I came out of the movie, I found out that it was under 2 hours, which I was like, there is no excuse for the stuff in this movie to be as half-assed as it was. You could have taken an extra 30 minutes to develop some of these things, and the movie probably would have been better, but again, I'm under the impression that this is a studio project. I don't like the score either. The score by Steven Jablonsky is very bland, generic, and I consider himself to be one of the most uninspiring composers working. He's Michael Bay's regular composer, and it's not the fact that I have a grudge against anyone that Michael Bay is associated with, but he rips off Hans Zimmer's style a lot rather than doing his own voice. There was nothing about the score that was very memorable. Just didn't care for it. Now, I'm tired of bitching about this movie because there are some good things about it. As I mentioned before, it's not a piece of shit. Asa Butterfield, it does have a sense of authority when he's around other kids. However, personality-wise, I don't think he really can carry a movie on his own. I know he was the star in Hugo, but I wasn't a big fan of him in Hugo. The reason I really liked Hugo was because it was surrounded by a lot of great supporting characters and Martin Scorsese's direction to begin with. So he worked in Hugo, not so much here. Other actors like Haley Steinfeld from True Grit and Harrison Ford, who, for you youngsters out there, if you really don't know who he is, Han Solo and Indiana Jones, they're good. Other small roles like Viola Davis and Abigail Breslin as Valentine are good also, but they feel almost wasted, because, especially Valentine, for how little they're used. One thing I also really like is the production design of Battle School, and all the scenes involving the zero gravity room. In fact, all the stuff in Battle School I thought was really well done, entertaining. I enjoyed those scenes, and my friends probably want to kill me for saying this. But look, in the end, I think this movie is a complete mess. No tension, no sense of climax. Battle School and the actors are good, but I'd say watch at your own risk. It's worth seeing for Battle School alone, but everything else seemed kind of rushed, half-assed, or just weak. I would say if you love the book, you're probably going to hate the movie, but I know some other people out there who have read the book and really do like this movie, so again, watch at your own risk. I thought it was okay, but you should be able to make up your own decision. And that's my review for Ender's Game. Leave a comment if you've seen the movie, subscribe to my channel for more reviews in the future. Check out my other channel, AlexG8462. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at AlexG8462. Like me on Facebook /The Cinemas with Mr. Robinson. Share me with your friends and tell them about me. This has been The Cinemas with Mr. Robinson. And remember, know it before you see it. I'll see you guys later.